Hey, everybody. Welcome to another bonus episode of the Racing with Ryan podcast. It is our second race rewind presented by American Auto. We will be covering a very exciting event on today's show. We had four different races up for vote, and we whittled it down to two. And you, the fans, the listeners, you have spoken. And the event that we are going to cover today will be the Pro Late Model 35 on night number 3 of Speed Week, so the World Series from 2020. And I wanted to start off by providing a little bit of context because this is race 3 of a 7-race series throughout that year's World Series. So there's a lot that happened to lead up to this. Night number 1 of the World Series was rather tame. Nick Noggle won the first race there, and there was a lot of aggressive driving throughout the first race, but no major issues yet. Mike Byer had an issue. He slammed the inside wall on the final lap, but that really doesn't play into anything that we'll be talking about today. Night number 2 is where things got pretty exciting. Right off the get-go, there was a lot of aggression from Jamie Skinner and Jet Noland, who are the major players in this bonus episode. They were both very aggressive, but you have to be in the World Series. If you have a fast car with the inverts that happen with these 35-lap shootouts and how hard it is to pass, you have to be aggressive, especially on starts and restarts. On night number 2, there was a late race restart, and Jet Nolan, for the second time in the race, made it 3 wide. This time he pushed up the racetrack and got into Jamie Skinner, and Skinner's car actually went up on the wall, kind of rode up the wall a little bit and damaged the right side of his car, taking him out of contention for the night. Jet Nolan would battle with Connor Mozak, actually making more contact with Connor Mozak towards the end of the race, and Jet Nolan would win. In victory lane, coming to victory lane, Jamie Skinner pulled up, made his presence known with Jet Nolan, and Jet kind of just drove through that, came to victory lane. So Jamie Skinner came to victory lane, and they had some words. And you can see Jamie Skinner down there talking, and John with some of the crew guys. And then I never realized this until I watched the video. Again, night number 2 of Speed Weeks 2020, we're talking now. Skinner actually hops back over the wall and then sticks his head under the victory lane banner and continues his conversation with the Nolan crew. So Jet Nolan on night number 2 is the big winner. There was some contact, and I'll be honest with you, I have not watched this race again since 2020. So we are going to go over all of that live. With that said, I think we're caught up. Of course, everybody remembers this race as the culmination of a rivalry that came to a head between Jet Nolan and Jamie Skinner. Let's get into the video and see what all happened here. So here we go. Again, big thank you to Speedway Video for letting us use these videos for the podcast, and he's going to take the audio here and put it over the video. So here we go, starting at night number 3 of the World Series. Hunter Wright in the 29 up on the pole. Jamie Skinner up on the outside. Now they qualify these cars, and then they invert X amount of cars. And I don't know what the invert was on the night. I'm assuming it was a 6 or an 8 because Jet Nolan's back there in 7th. You got Daniel Dye, Brad Cassell, 3rd and 4th. Connor Mozak, who was just at New Smyrna last week, is in the 5th spot. Green flag is out. Now, the World Series is a 9-night action pack event, 9 straight nights of racing. The Pro Lates run 7 of the 9 races. So this is night 3, and as we start, Jamie Skinner goes from the outside. He peeks to the inside of Hunter Wright coming off the corner. And again, especially in race number 2, and probably in this race, you're going to see a lot of aggressive driving because it's tough to pass in these Pro Late model cars, a little less horsepower than the Super Lates. Very momentum-based class, and you really got to get what you can get off the get-go. Nice, clean start to this one. Hunter Wright does hold off Jamie Skinner. Daniel Dye's up to 3rd. Connor Mozak, who I believe this was his first World Series. It was, actually. He was having a nice series up until this point, and he was in championship contention all year long. He is now just ahead of Jet Nolan. So as they run, it's Hunter Wright and Jamie Skinner again going to battle for the lead here on the inside, and it is so hard to make a pass on the inside. Your momentum really gets choked on the bottom of the racetrack. Skinner a little bit loose there. That outside car can really use all the racetrack and keep that speed up. and pinch the guy down on the inside. Skinner obviously, I want to say obviously, but appears to have a little bit faster race car at this point. Skinner again peeks down to the inside. Daniel Dye sitting back in third. Skinner moves inside again, and all clean so far. Skinner now pulls right up alongside, but the yellow flag is out. Yellow flag going to end that battle here. And it is the 0-3. I believe Dario Capriccio is in that 0-3 machine, and he has found the outside wall in turns 1 and 2. I believe he was one of our Canadian competitors that was able to come down and compete, and this was pre-COVID. This basically happened about a month and a half before the shutdown, so we were real lucky to be able to get these races in. So the 0-3 up on the hook. He would continue. He'd be one of about 8 or 9 drivers to compete in all 7 events. The World Series, if you're not familiar with it, it's a very tough event. Ooh, big damage to the right front. Thinking back live here, I do remember seeing the 0-3. I believe he grinded into the wall in the front stretch and kind of rode it around. So 4 laps complete as we get ready for a restart here. Hunter Wright still your leader in that 29. He's going to elect to restart on the outside, try to keep Skinner pinned down there on the inside. That's funny. Green back out. Great restart for the 29 of Hunter Wright out of Tennessee. He runs over at the Nashville Fairgrounds. Skinner not able to get to the lead, but we're right back to this battle. It's actually been a great battle up front. Top 2 breaking away from Daniel Dye, Connor Mozak, and Brad Kassa battling side by side back there for 5th. Skinner with a good launch off the corner. We move further back here. Jet Nolan, again, very aggressive in the race the night before, but Skinner edging out in front. He gets loose off the corner and hangs on to it. Big save there for Skinner. That's what I mean about it being hard to pass and why you see a lot of aggression. 35 laps at New Smyrna. While plenty of time, it would seem to move up through the field. It's often not that easy. So again, you probably sit back and say, well, these guys are so aggressive. They're too aggressive. They have to be. These aren't 50 lappers. They're not 100 lappers. These are shootouts. And that's what makes the World Series so much fun. They are shootout races. And, a lot of people watching these races, either at the track or on Speedway video here or on whatever network is broadcasting the live streams. A lot of eyes on this event, even though the stands, I don't know. I can't remember. This might have been at the end of the night or just the modifieds weren't there yet, so not a lot of people there, but a lot of people with eyes on this event regardless. Skinner, again, still working on that back bumper of Hunter Wright in the 29, who's been a mainstay in the Pro Lates in the World Series. Skinner getting a run to the inside, and again, we're right back at it. About 4 laps after the restart, Skinner's car starting to come to him. And still stuck there on the inside, close again. Skinner a little bit sideways, big time sideways there. Hangs onto it, but you see that outside launch. That's what we're talking about, that outside groove. Ooh, maybe a little contact there. A lot of contact there, and Hunter right into the outside wall. Oh, I forgot about that. And the hood goes up and comes back down. Big damage to the 29. And there was a little bit of contact going into 3 there, and then a lot of contact coming off turn number 4. And there you see the 29. Driver is okay. You can see him moving around. But Daniel Dye, very lucky in that instance to not get hit in the rear or front of the car. He got hit, I believe, square in the door. And he was able to continue on. You see, definitely got the radiator. Skinner coming by. There's Daniel Dye. Car looks okay. Field creeping by here under this yellow flag. Tough break there for Hunter Wright. Definitely in contention on night number 3 here of the World Series. You get a good look at the rest of the field coming by. It was a pretty, this was right around the time back 2020, 2019 when the Pro Late model division really started to come to life at the World Series. You got a lot more cars out there, and here comes Hunter out of the car. Very nice gentleman. We have a couple of shirts from him and the team, and I love that they're always there. And even when they have adversity, they fight back to keep running. They commit to run the full series, and they got this car ready for night number 4. I believe they replaced the radiator or fixed it up or whatever they had to do there to get him back out there. And he was a player the rest of the series. And Hunter Wright saying, hey, man, use your head. It's early in the race. So he's not happy with Skinner. So, again, we picked this video because it was Skinner versus Nolan, the continuation of that rivalry, and Hunter Wright now not happy with Jamie Skinner. But again, I'm not going to discredit the aggressiveness and saying you can't be, because if Skinner just rides and tries not to do something to get by, maybe he doesn't get by. I mean, 35 laps, it's only 17 and a half miles. If you keep getting pinched to the inside and not being able to make the pass, then you're not going to win the race. So Skinner was going for it, and yeah, they made contact, but rubbing is racing, and there's already been a lot of contact this week leading up to this. And Skinner, again, his big incident yesterday where he rode the wall, it was 1 day ago. It wasn't a week ago. It wasn't a month ago. It was a day ago, so that's fresh on his mind. He needs to get back in it. He's already had a bad race. So if he's going to win the championship, he's got to get aggressive. As you see, car number 29, right front suspension. Also, that is typically not the way your wheel points. And if you see the left front, that tire's still going the way it's supposed to. The right front, that's not going to be good. So that car definitely would retire from the contest today, from leading the race 7, 8, 9 laps in to out of it, as Hunter walks across the racetrack now very unhappy. You can just tell by the body language. So again, you can hear, as we mentioned, this is before Tom had found a way to pipe some of the audio into the camera. It being an older camera hooking up to the bar, it doesn't have the inputs to take the direct feed from the soundboard, but he has found a way to improve that. Hunter Wright's number 29 getting towed in, getting some good B-roll here on just some of the action. And again, I did not watch this before coming back live. So here we go, 9 laps complete. Daniel Dye and Jamie Skinner up on the front row. Skinner, your leader, up on the outside. And you have Brad Cassaw in the 12 and Connor Mozak in the 28. And there you see, the right front smoking on Daniel Dye. So I thought I remember that it was a solid hit in the door, but as you see, right front in trouble for Daniel Dye's 43, and a lot of times you won't know that's going to be an issue until that car is up to speed under full load in the corner. A lot of sparks. Daniel stays out on the racetrack. He was trying for the championship. You see heavy damage on the door, but it knocked that fender down on the tire. Jet Nolan there in that yellow and black machine. As it comes into focus here, he's going to go around the outside. So Daniel Dye in trouble. And dropping back right now, a standout on the ARCA circuit. Nick Noggle, night number 1 winner, was right behind Daniel Dye on that restart. Oh, trouble! One car hard in the wall. That's Bobby Wilberg's 28, I believe. Man, he just got hooked. So another yellow flag. Bobby Wilberg, that car is beautiful. You don't see a whole lot of blue race cars anymore with these template bodies. They're pretty much red, white, and black nowadays. Cutting back to Daniel Dye in the pits, is this caution's going to save, I believe, save that race car, because I think if he would have kept going, it probably would have cut a tire and ended his days. So the caution likely saving this team even more work. A big hit in the door, and going to change that right rear as well. So some new sneakers, and checking underneath the machine here just to make sure there's not any damage in the back. And might as well just take that door off at this point, and I think that's what they might do here. Or get a big piece of bear bond and secure it that way. Boy, that wreck there in the middle of the pack happened very quick. I did not see who it was that hooked Bobby Wilberg, but some contact in the middle of the field, sending the 28 car into the wall. And now you don't often see pit stops in a 35-lap race, but good thing there's no damaged vehicle policy or damage clock, which, if you ask me, is one of the stupidest rules in racing in the NASCAR side of things. But these guys can take their time, patch it up, and send young Daniel on his way, fresh off the 2019 track championship at New Smyrna in the pro late model ranks. So, a lot of people want to say, Daniel Dye, he's got daddy's money and is only up where he is. He started, he did quarter midgets for years on the little track at New Smyrna. Started in pro late models, won a track championship. Then he moved up to super late models, ran that for a while. As you see Wilberg getting hooked back up. And then he went to the ARCA East Series and now to the ARCA National Series. And wouldn't be surprised to see him in trucks next year. If he keeps, at least he's working the ladder system, folks. So hate on him if you want, but we'll give him some love. Former pro late model track champion. And, most interactions I've had with him have been very, very good. So I don't see him to be that spoiled rich kid as a lot of people want to call him out for. So here we go. Back to green here with 11 laps complete. Jamie Skinner, your leader in the 5 on the outside. Connor Mozak now, again, fresh off a third-place finish in the second race of the Florida Sunbelt Series at New Smyrna a week ago. And here comes Jet Noland in the 50. He's worked his way out of the back of the pack in 11 laps. I say back of the pack, more middle of the pack, and I believe he started 7th. Jarek Johnson having a good run in that 76 car moving up. And here you see Daniel Dye trying to work his way. I believe he's trying to get by Chuck Tuck and Kevin Folan there in the 17. I'm impressing myself that I remember a lot of these names. It's been 2 years since this race happened. Good battle for what would be the 4th position. Brad Cassell in the white-blue car on the inside there. I mean, Daniel Dye is trapped behind a pair of 17s. Tom doing a great job with the video here, capturing much of the field. Tom has found his niche. He knows when to zoom in. He knows when to zoom out. Feel out the action. Daniel Dye still trapped in the back of the field here, trying to work by that Kevin Folan machine as Brad Cassell and Jarek Johnson continue to battle. That 76 car, a staple of the World Series as well. This year, Jarek came down for a couple races for his son to race. It's the next generation, which hopefully means that car will be around for many, many years. Love that car. So still a side-by-side battle, I believe, for the 4th or 5th spot. I forgot now, but Brad Cassell brought a couple of cars down for the World Series in 2020 and had some mixed results, but always has nice-looking race cars. Every car that I've seen him race is beautiful. He puts a lot of effort into these cars, and he continues to battle with Johnson here. Creeping in on halfway, I believe. As you see, a hard battle here. You see the right front fender wrinkled up on the 12, the left rear quarter panel wrinkled up there on the 76, the 51, one of the Skinner cars, the RC. Oh, trouble! Oh, the battle. Going to come unglued. Brad Cassell into the inside wall. Oh, my goodness. Again, rewatching these live, I watched the first 2 races of the series. I did not watch this one because I wanted to be surprised. I know there's a big moment coming. That's why this event got picked. And right there, lap 17, halfway through, give or take. And now Jamie Skinner, the leader on the outside, and Jet Nolan to his inside. Let's see what happens here. A little how do you do coming off the corner. A little bumper tag from Mozak. And we head into turn 1. Now this is where Jet Nolan was very aggressive a night ago. Skinner, I think he knew it was coming. He moved up and is able to clear the 50 for the lead. Mozak will now battle with the other Skinner car behind them in the 51. I can't remember who is in that car. Gio Selsley's in the 16. Oh, Christian Rose, 26 car into the wall. That's another one of the RCS cars. Christian Rose now in the ARCA series as well. Night 1 winner, the 09, and Nick Noggle out ahead of Daniel Dye, who's starting to make a little progress now that the field is thinning out. Mozak slips ahead of that 51 car. And forgive me, I believe they had a kind of rotating. Oh, that 51 getting a tap there. Up the racetrack he goes, and he'll drop back. Whoa! Harrison Halder, Nick Noggle up into the air, into the inside wall. Yikes. Yikes, Nick Noggle, the winner of night number 1, stuck in the middle of the pack tonight, gets kind of caught up in a wreck that developed in turn number 2 and finishes here in turn number 3. That 51 car got jacked up. The field stacked up. The Halder machine with the hood in the air as he gets towed in, and Nick Noggle was the one who went for a big ride, disappearing behind the trailers, and there you see it. I believe the left rear of that car looking pretty sad. The Nick Noggle winner on night number 1. And again, we missed these guys, not able to make it down due to the pandemic the last few years. 19 laps complete. This has been a wild one, and we're not even to the good part yet. So again, Jamie Skinner on the outside in the white and black 5. Yellow and black for Jet Nolan on the inside. Green back in the air. A little bit of contact going into 1. Nolan getting aggressive. Nolan with the nose out in front, looking for his 2nd win of the week. Skinner and Nolan deadlock side by side for the race lead. Yeah, you see some sparks there. You see a lot of tire marks on the side of that 50. Body slam again. Nolan's car sideways, leaning on Skinner. Skinner dirt track in the car. for the lead. And here it is, the bump to Nolan. Into the wall hard is Jet Nolan. That car destroyed. And that was, from what we talked about at the beginning of the show, a crazy race the night before. And what we didn't catch there, watching the battle for the lead, the caution was actually out. There was a caution, a car had spun there on a restart. And then Nolan had used Skinner up going into the corner there. And now Jet Nolan's car is sitting heavily damaged. And there you hear red flag situation. And we did have replay from the folks covering the live stream. And there you hear from the PA, yep, he got a bump, and Jet Nolan coming out of the car now. Now, again, caution was out. And Skinner's argument here was, well, hey, the 50 checked up for the he checked up for the yellow, and I got into him. I don't know for sure that that's exactly what happened. You hear there on the PA, Skinner not happy. Nolan was aggressive again on restarts. You have to be, especially down on the inside of the racetrack. You saw it from Skinner earlier on the 29. I'm not saying that Skinner wrecked the 29 on purpose, but you're racing hard. These guys got into it yesterday, so they're not going to give each other any room. And, yeah, big crash. That's one way to sum it up. That was a hard driver's side shot. And luckily for Jet Nolan, able to hop out of that thing. But Jet Nolan, the winner from night number 2, crashed out. He's going to take a ride in the track transport ambulance here. And now the safety team will hook up the 50. So, again, my take on all this is Skinner was not happy for the second night in a row, more or less being used up here by Jet Nolan. Nolan body slammed him pretty good going into one and used Skinner's car to save his own car. Skinner dirt tracking it. And then, you know, the caution was coming out. So it's very possible that there was a checkup for the 50 and Skinner didn't check up fast enough, or Skinner just said, you know what, I'm going to teach this kid a lesson. You know, there's always going to, there's two sides of the story. You're going to have Skinner's side. And hey, you know, Skinner getting on here and telling people to go vote for this race, it tells me that he was interested on what we'd have to say here. But honestly, rivalries, man, they sell tickets, they produce storylines, they give you something to talk about, and sometimes they come to blows. And yeah, and I agree with that. Whether Skinner did this intentionally or not, he wasn't going to take any crap from Jet Nolan. He's not going to take any crap from anybody. That's the story right there. I don't think Skinner would just try to put him in the wall to hurt him, obviously. But, you know, hey, you want to use my car up 2 nights in a row? Well, I'm going to use your car up and put an end to it. Of course, the 50 team's going to say, well, he dumped me on purpose. And Skinner's going to say, well, caution was coming out. He checked up. I got into him. It's a racing deal. You see they're having to get what I call the hammock job going here, or the double hook. And there you hear the call there, Jamie Skinner to the tail for the contact. So Connor Mozak going to assume the lead here just past the halfway point in this 35-lap race. And that's pretty much how I believe it was CRA in 2020, the CRA officials were calling it. If you made contact with somebody to draw a caution, you went to the back as well. So, yeah, Skinner going to the back here. And it's been a rough World Series for Skinner. And here we'll see the end result of car number 50, Jet Nolan. The double wrecker, the hammock job, the double hook, whatever you want to call it. You know it's a big hit when you need 2 vehicles to bring it to the pits, and he was parked up on the outer pit area, so they're going to get him off the racetrack here. Not the way you want to see your car hauled off the speedway, I can tell you that much. And we'll get a good look here at the left side of the car as it gingerly makes this corner. Well, here comes one of the Jet team. But you can see the body panels just hanging off that car. Yeah, there's what's left of the door. I believe those parts were sitting there for a better part of the season. Tyler, our current weekly flag man, working the gate on this night. And Skinner to pit road here. as his team takes a look at the car. I mean, you're going to the back. You might as well pit. Might as well make sure she's ready for the rest of the race here. So definitely, you know, night number 3, this is typically when the rivalries start building. You start finding yourself racing the same person after a couple nights because the fast cars always find the other fast cars. And normally you'd think night 3, it's not going to come to a head, but it did here. And I believe from this point, things pretty much settled down. But we'll talk about the end of the series once we get to the end of the video here, because there's still a lot to watch. And we've already seen some wild action out of these Pro Late models. It was a great field of cars to start the week, and we definitely thinned them out here tonight. And there you hear Connor Mozak again inheriting the lead as the Bear Bond coming out for the Skinner car. So some damage to the front. And again, you saw it there. It happened quickly, but definitely hit hard. The crew trying to get him back out on the racetrack for the restart. Skinner able to fire up and continue on. Skinner rejoins the pack here. And I believe we'll be set for a restart here. 20. We finally made it to 20 laps complete. 15 to go. And you see the 5 and 50 still on your scoreboard. Forget about it. It's the 28 and the 51, who I can't even remember who was in that car. The Polka Dots car. Hayden Sprague was in the 51 car. That's right. Hayden Sprague in the 51. Connor Mozak, 28. It only took me half the race to remember that. Green flag back in the air. And you see the field thinned out considerably now. Daniel Dye has worked his way back into the mix. He is going for second on Hayden Sprague now. Daniel Dye still perhaps a little bit of sparks on that car, or maybe that was just the reflections off the spoiler. But he's now on the outside of Hayden Sprague's number 51. Hayden Sprague got a week-long ride with the Skinner team as well, so we figured out that mystery. And yeah, a lot of sparks out of Daniel Dye's machine. So he is driving a very ill-handling race car. How about Chuck Tuck in the 17? He is up to 5th. He was a driver that you normally see in the World Series. I believe he's sold his asphalt stuff and gone dirt racing, if I'm not mistaken, but the driver out of Georgia. Having a nice top 5 run tonight behind Gio Scelzi, who actually did win a race in this World Series. I believe he wins night number 4, if I'm not mistaken. So, spoiler alert. Brad Cassat trying to work his way back into it in that 12 car after he was involved in one of the dust-ups earlier in the race. And there's Skinner back in the mix. He's all over the back of Brad now as Chuck Tuck is trying to knock the wall down. Out in front, Connor Mozak in the 28. Contact, Brad Cassat! And Skinner, again, you have to be aggressive. He definitely got into him a little bit there. A black flag for Skinner for rough driving. Wow. And I believe he was parked for the night because of that. See, I didn't even remember that had happened. But again, we talked about it at the preface of the show. You have to be aggressive in these races. But there is a line, and the officials say that Skinner hopped over the line tonight. I knew he had a setback besides the wreck in night number 2. Luckily for him, a number of drivers had already been ruled out of this race, so it's not going to be a good finish, but it could have been a lot worse. Skinner coming in, hand out the window. And again, called, getting the black flag here for rough driving. Just he got in the back of Brad Cassat in turn 3 and 4, and then sent him around in 1 and 2. And I honestly just believe that he knows he has to go, but I think this ended up costing him more than if he was just a little more patient. But I get it. Night number 3. These are long days of the World Series. We're here like 10 in the morning till sometimes after midnight working on these cars and trying to race. And it just wasn't a good day for Skinner. And you see the crew member over there. He's not happy about it either, to say the least. 11 laps remain. I'm waiting to see if there's any action over here. I believe that might be the Jet team standing by down there. So Daniel Dye on the inside. Connor Mozak, again, he's your leader. He gets to select inside or outside. And here we go. We are back underway. Daniel Dye trying to take the lead away from Connor Mozak in the 28. Gio Selzy is in that 16. Hayden Sprague in the 51. Daniel Dye still on the inside. Side by side, more contact coming off the corner. Mozak returns the favor. Dye gets back into him going into 1. Wow. Daniel Dye with sparks flying off the right side. Door just hanging on. Connor Mozak with the driver's side with a few donuts. Still deadlocked side by side. Mozak at the line, your leader. Great racing. Dye gets into him again. And I believe we've had another caution. Yeah, oh, it's Chuck Tuck. Oh, man. Chuck Tuck has destroyed the 17. He was 5th just a few minutes ago. You see the right rear, or the rear end knocked out of alignment there. The right side all torn up. And we'd seen him flirting with the wall, and I'm trying to think back here. I believe he might have hit the wall and just grinded along it down into turn number 1 before spinning out. That's why there was so much damage done to the right side of that beautiful race car. So tough break for Chuck Tuck. And now back to the pit area. And you see Mike Skinner down there in the mix talking to Jamie. And they're heading over to talk to the officials now. Actually, no. The Jet team is... that was the Jet team. Skinner comes over, and they now will converse. They'll talk about it. You hear the PA man, whoever that may be, is focused on what happened on the racetrack. And there you see Skinner said, hey, man, he drove into the side of me. He was knocking the side of my car off. And that's what led to... The Jets team says, well, you dumped us down here. So, again, they're talking. I believe that's Mr. Jet down there. And I think some of the team is trying to get the camera out of there. Obviously, nobody is happy with the way that things have gone here. Skinner just trying to talk his way through it. In my opinion, at this moment, everybody is handling themselves well. I'm sure some things are being said that they're all going to disagree on. And Eddie Chu down there with his hands up. He's trying to keep things calm. It's one thing to have a discussion, but you don't want to see it get out of hand. And right now, they're just trying to talk. And Eddie Chu says, you know what, let's go ahead and get you guys out of the mosh pit here. Let's get you some space to talk. Because a lot of times the drivers just want to talk, and then the crews instigate, and then we have a brawl, and then things go south. So Skinner here, and I may be wrong on this, but I believe that was Mr. Jet down there. It is Mr. Jet talking to Jamie Skinner about what transpired. And, you know, Skinner could have come running into that, and he could have, you know, really escalated the situation. In my opinion, I think this is good to let these guys talk. And I think that Eddie Chu did a great job to separate these two who are trying to talk from the rest of the crews. So still a long way to go in the race itself, and we've had a lot of drama. And you see, they're definitely not agreeing. Skinner says, I don't like the way I was raced. The Jet team saying, hey, I don't like what happened to our race car down there in turn number 3. And I don't think Jet much cares for Skinner's defense here. Here comes Chuck Tuck, I believe, on the hook. Yes, that is the Chuck Tuck car on the hook there. As the conversation continues. And this is another reason why it's so great having Speedway video. He's able to zoom in on all this stuff. I lose track of what's going on in the pit area a lot of times. I've got things going on in the tower. I've got, during Speedways, I got replays to watch. Heck, half the time I lose track of who's where down there because I can't tell one ant from the other. And And Tom was able to get this conversation. Obviously, we're not sure. Can only speculate on what's being said. But a lengthy conversation here between Skinner and here comes Mike Skinner over. A few more people. I think maybe somebody's got some video that they're trying to show here. I can't exactly tell, but I believe that's what that gentleman had. There was his phone. Couple of officials over there now. Just trying to keep things as civil as possible. I believe, yes, we're watching the videos here. Yeah, and Mike Skinner says, yep, he just drove into the side of our race car. Yeah, hey, we can't hear what they're saying, but we can see what they're saying at this point. Race still yet to restart, and now the crew's starting to gather back in here. Now these crew guys, some of them just have to be up in the mix of everything. And yeah, Skinner's still, he's pointing the finger now, and he's pleading his case. And again, security coming over, trying to get these crew guys to get back to their pit. The crew guys don't need to be involved in all this, man. In my opinion. It's all the RCS guys over there. Man, neither side wants to agree. And I mean, obviously the damage is done, but neither side is happy. And I think the Jet team has more reason to be unhappiest because their car is wrecked. But, when you get driven into the side of for the second night in a row, you'd be mad too if you put yourself in Jamie's shoes here. So I hate that we ended up with a really good competitive wrecked race car out of all this. But it makes for some very dramatic pictures, that's for sure. Man, to be a fly on the wall here. So that conversation continues here as it looks like we are set to restart in a wild race that started with a great car count. Now we're down to 7 cars. Wow, here we go. Daniel Dye, Connor Mozak. Dye gets a little shot there from Hayden Sprague, and Mozak gets away with the lead. And another crash. Oh, it's Jarek Johnson this time, destroying the rear end of that car. Man, that car looks like one of the Superbirds now. My goodness. So, yeah, let's go back and check in with our conversation. As you can see, it's still ongoing. Eddie Chu still down in the mix there. Eddie's a great guy. Great at what he does in the tech shed. And hey, if he's down there, ain't nobody going to mess with him. I can tell you that much. So a multiple-minute conversation down here between the two teams after just a wild instance. And Tom's like, okay, the race happened. Back to the drama here, just in case. But looks to me, body language starting to loosen up a little bit. And again, still just rehashing it. Nobody's happy about it still. Nope, something's... I guess the 76, when he was coming into the pits, evidently having words with somebody. I saw some of the Skinner crew take off there, so I don't know. Again, we didn't catch it at the tail end of the field what exactly happened there, but... Man, what a wild night. This race started with over 20 cars, and I think it's down to 6 or 7. It's insane. And I remember after this, the Pro Late models, I believe they had a talking to and actually cleaned up their act. Okay, so is Jarek Johnson to Christian Rose, and that is another one of the RCS cars. So I assume Christian Rose coming in there to see the Jarek Johnson car. He's out of the car. He's talking with Mike Skinner. And I believe that we've de-escalated that situation. My goodness, what a race. Tough break for Jarek Johnson. He had a really, really good car during the speed weeks, and he just didn't have the luck. So back to it. 5 cars left. Holy cannoli. So you got the 28 Connor Mozak, 43 Daniel Dye, Gio Scelzi 16, 51 Hayden Sprague, and then, David Weaver back there. Green flag back out. Daniel Dye did not get a good restart. Christian Rose going to rejoin. That'll give us 6 cars. Oh, a little contact there. Hayden Sprague trying to shove it on the inside of the 16, and I believe I misspoke earlier, and I'm not going to say what I misspoke about because I believe I claimed somebody won the next night, and I might have stepped on my own toes a little bit there. So things settling down, which you would hope with only a few cars left. So with the lead, it is Connor Mozak in the 28. Daniel Dye is second in the 43. Christian Rose did bring it back to pit road. Gio Scelzi in that 16. In the 51, Hayden Sprague, and Weaver sitting back there in the second spot. And I don't think we're quite done yet. So don't turn off the video, don't turn off the podcast yet. And there's still plenty to talk about. Connor Mozak in the 28 in his first World Series, looking for his first win during the World Series and first win at the new Smyrna Speedway. Daniel Dye has problems. Daniel Dye, I believe that right front finally went down. Able to keep it off the wall, but he's out of contention. So much damage on the right side of that car and not able to nurse it back to pit road. That car comes to a stop. And caution comes out, which usually fixes everything. So Daniel Dye battling for the win up here. And we'll get a look at the right side. I want to, with the way that car went up the track, I want to say it was a tire issue. Well, actually, it might be a suspension issue. Tire did not go down, but I believe the damage on the right side of that car finally gave in. And that, yeah, something's definitely broken there, as that right front is definitely a little cattywampus. So the twists and turns of this wild race continue. It definitely looked like he was going to settle for perhaps a top 3. Well, Mike Skinner down here going to help assess what's going on the right front of Daniel. Man, Mike Skinner's been around the pits today. Daniel Dye with the Ben Kennedy Racing crew, and hey, let's go see what's going on. We're still talking about it. Still talking about it. As you see, the crowd has thinned out. I don't think we've come to an agreement yet. I do like that these guys were able to get together and talk. Yeah. They're not happy. And then I don't think to this day that they're going to agree. Now recapping who's still out there on the PA there. That's it. This race was a race of survival. I remember a race during Speed Weeks a couple years before this where they kept wrecking, and the race literally got fogged out. I think they could have continued racing, but they kept wrecking, and the officials said, to hell with this, we're done. It reminds me of that night. Just a plethora of wrecks and incidents. Over 20 cars started, or somewhere around 20, and we're down to 4. So now you have Connor Mozak, 28, Gio Scelzi, 16, Hayden Sprague, 51, and then Weaver sitting back there in 4th. Oh, and the 16 doesn't get going. Scelzi has a problem. Who's going to survive this thing? So Connor Mozak, your leader, and you see the war he's been through. You can barely read the number on the left side of that car. As he leads now Hayden Sprague. So RCS still with a bullet in the chamber here in that 51 car. At the beginning of recording the podcast, I forgot who was even in that thing, and over the past 45 minutes or so, I've been able to figure it out. So Mozak 28, ARCA driver now. Actually raced for Anthony Campy Racing at New Smyrna this past weekend. Hayden Sprague out of Michigan. We've seen him drive a number of different vehicles out at New Smyrna, mostly for Speed Weeks. And he's closing in now. So after all of this, we're getting a heck of a battle for the win. Hayden Sprague and Connor Mozak both looking for their first wins. Here comes Sprague, that white and black 51, digging to the inside of what's left of that 28. Here we go, contact into the back of, oh, the 51 just spun out Connor Mozak. Hayden Sprague gets to the line first. Wow. So Connor Mozak coming for his first win. He gets denied. The 51 spun him out. And they just called it. Gio Scelzi is the race winner. The 51 has the win taken away for rough driving. Ralph Miller with the black flag out. And he lets the 51 know you did not win. Checkered flag is out for Gio Scelzi, who only had a 3-race deal in this car, 3 or 4 race deal. And he wins this one, not the following night. I knew he'd won a race, but I honestly forgot how crazy things were in this race that this was the race he won. So Gio Scelzi takes the win in one of the wildest Pro Late Model races you'll ever see. The conversation ongoing. Here comes Gio out of the car. And he's like, well, I'll take it, I guess. Exactly. He goes, I'll take it. So Gio Scelzi wins it. The war between Jamie Skinner and Jet Nolan. And this was awesome. So I'm going to let this roll. Look at the emotion here. Actually finished second. A very, they're always here, the Weavers for Speed Weeks. Outdated equipment. Just here to be here and survive, and actually got credited with a second place finish. And got one of the loudest pops of the night. Man, it was a hell of a race. It was wild. So yeah, Gio Scelzi gets the big win here. David Weaver, a career best second. Feel-good story for those that were able to survive, and definitely a race that just gave us a lot to talk about for the rest of the World Series. So we'll stop the video here as Gio Scelzi talks with yours truly down in Victory Lane. Yeah, he said he made a little mistake at one point, and could have been what won it for him. And Gio says, yeah, I would have liked to have raced for the win and, be the first one with the checkered flag. But as I tell everybody, you got to take these wins, especially during the World Series. Take them any way the rest of the field will give them to you, I guess, at this point. So Scelzi, again, he was just down here for a couple of races. Didn't even race that 16. They had a bunch of different drivers behind the wheel of the 16. And I thought he had won the previous night. I didn't remember him winning this eventful race. But there you go. Gio Scelzi, your race winner. And so now we'll go ahead and stop the video as he's going to get his pictures. David Weaver, again, down here talking. But just an awesome, awesome finish for the Weavers. And glad to have the Weavers out this past weekend as well. So we'll go ahead and we'll end it there. But I do want to debrief, what a wild, wild race to relive. So much happened there that I didn't even remember. That is definitely one of the wilder races that we've had in the World Series lately. So Jet Nolan wins night number 1, gets taken out. Jamie Skinner, though, at the end of all this, he gets the last laugh because he fought all the way back, winning 3 races during the World Series, and he won the championship by 2 points over Connor Mozak. If Connor Mozak didn't get spun out right there, won the race, Mozak probably wins the championship. Obviously, different, that would have set up different scenarios. They would have raced differently. But Jamie Skinner, I just remember him the last night of the season in the 100-lapper just fighting through the field to get those 2 points he needed to win. And so I would say between the Skinner and Nolan rivalry, while Jet Nolan still had a good World Series, I believe he had another victory moving forward. He was still a championship contender, but Jamie Skinner did come out on top and win the championship. And again, I would invite you to go to Speedway Video and watch the rest of the Pro Late Model races to see how that, to see how that all went down. But just an absolutely insane race. I'd love to know what everybody thinks on the rivalry. I know it's going to be a different take depending on which side of the coin you're on. To me, both drivers were aggressive. Both drivers stepped over the line at certain points, in my opinion. Both of them, honestly, in this race, got penalized for it. The 50, losing a race car and Jamie Skinner getting parked. But at the end, Jamie Skinner gets the last lap and wins the championship. So I believe that's who would be the winner then. But, yeah, just a absolutely insane race. Fun to go back and watch. I forgot a lot that happened. I was so focused on, okay, this is the race where Skinner and Nolan had the rivalry that I forgot there were so many other crashes. There was like 2 people that finished. Gio Scelzi wins. Connor Mozak has it taken away in the last lap. And then the 51 Hayden Sprague has the win taken away by race control. And David Weaver ends up with a career best finish and a big pop from the crowd. And just a man who was happy to have things end up the way they did. So a lot of storylines in that one. Definitely a great race to go back and cover. I appreciate everybody for voting on this, and hope you enjoyed either the audio format or watching this overlaid with the video. Thank you all for listening. Hope you enjoyed the second race rewind here on the Racing with Ryan podcast, brought to you by our friends at American Auto. Until the next time, take care, everyone.
Support Speedway Video. Go to patreon.com/Speedway Video now.